Tell me, what do you want for Christmas?
It's lucky one of us remembers.
I don't have a Christmas list anymore.
I do!
I don't remember ordering anything.
I'm here to give you a gift. Could you at least try and be excited?
What gift?
Pull to open.
Pull to open.
Yes, and what do you do?
I made a jigsaw out of your history. Did you like it?
Oh, no. I could never accept such an extraordinary gift.
Oh, well, that's all right then. Here, come!
Hello, and welcome to a Christmas special edition of Pull to Open, normally a random quest through all of time and space via the TV show Doctor Who in very random order of episodes. But we're taking a little break here, and let's talk about why we're taking a break here. My name is Chris Taylor.
And I'm Pete Pachal, and I just got that Christmas episode, Chris Taylor. Oh, hey, man. We got all
Christmas Taylor.
Yep. Yeah, guys, you were probably expecting a commentary on Demons of the Punjab. Do not worry. We will have a lot to say about that particular episode very soon. In fact, next week. But right now, it's kind of Christmas Eve weekend, and we're getting into seeing Doctor Who in a couple of days. You're going to get a commentary, a hot take on the Church on Ruby Road very soon. But, for this episode right before that, we're kind of indulging the Christmas spirit a little bit. We want to get gifty with it with y'all.
If you, like me, are a last-minute gift buyer, then you are probably, your mind is consumed at the moment with what gifts to get people. What do you get a billion-year-old Time Lord?
Billion, yes, that's one of the gifts the specials gave us. A new figure for the Doctor's age. He's billions of years old. I think he actually used the plural, didn't he?
Yeah, he did use the plural. So yeah, what do you get? A Time Lord at indeterminate age who has everything via the TARDIS. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about gifts that the Doctor has actually received in the show, which is given. But it's a shockingly small number. I think that's the headline on that, Pete, is that the Doctor has really not received a whole lot of gifts, despite it being confirmed that he has a Christmas list.
I should caveat, we're not necessarily comprehensive on this. So feel free, people who are watching this on YouTube, to comment below for the gifts that we miss when we talk about them later. But no, we want to talk about gifts. And, we're going to talk about this in sort of three different ways. First, we want to talk about the recent three specials and the gifts that they have given us, the Doctor Who fandom. Whether you're a casual fan or a hardcore fan who's been watching it for 60 years, there's gifts for you in this. And we're going to take those apart a little bit. We're going to unwrap them, take them apart. We're going to unwrap gifts. That's what you do with gifts. We're going to unwrap those gifts. I mean, they've already been unwrapped, but we're going to regard them a little bit. Then we're going to reflect a little bit on the gifts over the years that the Doctor's gotten and received. And then we might get a little personal with it. We might talk a little bit about the gift that Doctor Who has given both of us in this holiday season and many holiday seasons in the past. So hope you'll indulge us. And why don't we get started? Why don't we just go right to the specials? And
let's talk about the specials. I mean, the specials were not that Christmassy because we are getting a Christmas special. I think a lot of people expected a bit more holiday cheer. A lot of people expected more from the specials in terms of multi-Doctor stories. We did sort of get that with the Giggle.
Sort of.
We're hoping for Matt Smith. A lot of people had very specific Christmas lists for the specials that may or may not have been met. But I think if you went in saying, "Oh, anything you give me is fine," or just anything you make is lovely, RTD.
The thought that counts, I believe, is what they say.
And he was clearly thinking of something.
Totally. There was a little bit of holiday cheer, I remember, in the Star Beast. So when he arrives, it's clearly the holiday season. They're getting gifts. And
Donna is buried under a pile of gifts, literally, as in Rose's gifts to Dubai, mostly.
Yeah, luckily RTD didn't do the homicidal Christmas tree again, which he was probably tempted to. But there was definitely some stuff set up there. But I got to say, the biggest gift under the tree this season for Doctor Who fans, I have to think, is simply the Disney Plus money because all of the specials looked really good. The production values are, higher than Tenet has probably ever experienced on the show.
Yep.
And they just look great. Everything from the Meep to
That
Neil
new-
Patrick Harris and his set pieces and everything in between. A unit getting the Avengers Tower, like all of this stuff. Like this is like, okay, Doctor Who is full on. It's competing head to head with Marvel and Star Wars, and it's looking good doing it.
It really is, and you can look no further than the intro, the new opening, the credits, the TARDIS bouncing around the time stream in 4K and amazing colors, and the camera doing all sorts of zoomy things. I mean, it makes the 2000s time tunnel look as cheap as the 70s time tunnel.
And it's funny, like I've sort of said this before on some previous episodes about how if you grew up with old school Doctor Who, like everything from 2005 on looks amazing, but now like there are so many fans who have grown up on the new show, and we just had one on with Ellie Blackwood when she helped us with The Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit. I kind of almost can't relate to them sometimes because they're the complaints about effects from 2005, 2006. I remember celebrating those effects as cheesy as they look. Maybe not the slitting, but everything else was pretty good.
What you're saying here, Pete, in 3 words: kids these days.
Anyway, we're really grateful for the Disney money because it's not just impressing us, the old school folks who grew up on Tom Baker, Peter Davison, and all the rest. But now it's impressing everybody. It just looks really good. And again, you could pick at any particular effect. I'm not saying they're all perfect, but the production values are like really high. And that's
really are. And you're to your point, there is no greater gift for Doctor Who fandom than more Doctor Who fans, or the opportunity to show the show off to more fans. Because who doesn't love giving someone else the gift of Doctor Who fandom? I know we all want to do it. We all, like, no matter how many friends you have who watch Doctor Who, there could always be one more. Especially if perhaps out there you might be trying to convince a partner or a spouse, very, very good friends, that this is a show that you want to snuggle up with you and watch all episodes of. Perhaps there are many, many years of it that they could go through, and so great.
It's a really good point. It's a really good point because yes, even back in the day when there wasn't a ton of sci-fi out there, it was difficult to convince people to watch Doctor Who because of it is just notorious for its cheap effects. And now the show is obviously something you could proudly just go, oh yeah, it's really good and it looks great. Awesome.
Okay, so second on our Christmas list, because we have made a little list of 5 gifts from the specials, 5 biggest gifts from the specials. Probably should have said that before we plunged into them, but hey, we're just too excited. There's just wrapping paper everywhere. We're just getting into this.
It was hard to narrow it down to 5. There's so much, but
there's so much, but you can
not be
only
greedy.
Stuff so much under the tree. And there's a gift of I won't try to make this too controversial, but there are various gifts that the show provides itself in terms of wiping over canon or saying that something that has been bedeviling us in our heads for years about how did that happen? How did that plot hole happen in Doctor Who? Why was this? We all have our list in our heads, and it is a real Christmas gift to give us something new that can wipe over that or explain that, as we usually do in our show every week with the Clara Splinter, explaining plot holes in the stories that we visit. That was kind of a gift from Moffat. Another gift that Moffat gave us was the Crack in Time, which, the reforming of the universe and the Big Bang. We're going to talk about that later because it does have an actual gift in it. But there is that gift to us fans of being able to explain away stuff with the Crack in Time or the Clara Splinter. And we have a new one because the toy maker says...
He says in a piece of dialogue when he's talking to the 14th Doctor across the table, right when they're about to play cut, he says, brags to him, in fact, brags to the Doctor, I made a jigsaw of your history. Did you like it? And we don't know what he meant by that, but that I believe, is the gift.
Yes.
Because now fans can interpret that line however they want. And what folks are choosing to interpret that as is perhaps the Timeless Child arc, which the Chibnall era was, so I'll just say, known for. And we've said enough about that, probably already. You can, if you want, in your head, say that is simply a toy maker plot, a toy maker, his monkeying with the Doctor's history. That was all his plan. That's what he did. And if you wanted to ignore it for that reason, that's fine.
And having it scattered throughout the Doctor's history in a weird way, so that bits of it end up in the brain of Morbius, stuff like that. You can headcanon however you want, and you're right. That is a great gift from RTD, because he's not being disrespectful to the Chibnall era.
Right.
We do get specific shout outs. We do get the Doctor wondering about, acknowledging he didn't even come from Gallifrey in Wild Blue Yonder. So it's definitely a yes and, but but I was expecting more, and I think being primed by the Chibnall era to expect more, because Chibnall was not very yes and, the way he redestroyed Gallifrey, for example.
Right, exactly.
So I was expecting RTD to come along and do a hard no, no, that never happened because XYZ, or something more specific. But you're right, just leaving it as one phrase from the toy maker, you can do whatever you want with. I feel if this was Marvel or DC, you would have some sort of Crisis of Infinite Earths situation. I've talked about this a few times. Right. Maybe that's what we're getting in this special. One collapsed timeline that just, everything's sorted. But you don't have to do that in Doctor Who. Doctor Who canon can be very loosey-goosey, and so much of it is in the head of every fan.
And I think
kind of a choose your own adventure.
It's also kind of RTD's gift to himself, in that if he can kind of leave it now, if he wants to, if he just wants to go on, and I think he will, he'll basically just go do the stories he wants and not necessarily indulge too much in the Timeless Child stuff. Now, that said, at some point, they're going to have to refer to regeneration and how many regenerations he has, and maybe they'll keep it vague. I'm sure it'll come back around in some form, but having some definitive thing that either erases it or confirms it, I don't think you need that. And I think RTD realizes he doesn't. So he's kind of essentially, this is a helpful thing for him to kind of just forget about it for a while, move on, and create the stories he wants to tell with his new Doctor, Shudigawa.
Yes, he's got breathing room for a couple of years, which seems to be the way with Doctor Who. You have your seasons where nothing is mentioned that kind of continues the mystery of the Doctor. Nothing specific, nothing overarching. And then you got seasons where you got a lot of new Doctor information, right? So, but it has to be a gift. It has to be parceled out sparingly in amongst many Monster of the Week, Story of the Week kind of situations. So that's what we're getting.
So we got another present, a few more presents to get through here on the special. So the next
one. So
petite, you might say.
Petite one. It's got bits of red hair on it.
Yeah. And that is, of course, Melanie Bush. She was back, and it was a delight to see her. She's always been sort of a Doctor Who presence, particularly in the Big Finishes. I actually just finished a Big Finish with her and Colin Baker. God, what was it? It was the one with Evelyn. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But the point is, she's done a lot of Big Finishes.
Yes.
And she's back now for sure in the show. This was a bit of a surprise gift, even though some people who in the fan community who essentially took the trailer and turned it into the Zapruder film and found a frame where it looked like she was in it. There was we didn't really know she was going to be back this early. Yeah, and now she is. So it's great. But I do like the idea of bringing back old companions whenever they want, and they have this great device. So it's beyond just Mel, and they teased this in The Power of the Doctor a little bit. But now that it makes total sense, right? That unit would just kind of go and hire all these old companions of the Doctor, because who better to staff your organization that is supposed to be looking out for the Earth and doing the best they can when the Doctor isn't there because he no longer works there full time, right?
Indeed.
So, yeah.
The companion support group in Power of the Doctor might be the best gift that Chibnall ever gave us, or certainly gave me. I think about that a lot when I think about Doctor Who and I think about companions, like that essential question of what next? Why the Doctors abandon them, basically. They need someone to talk to about. So I love that. But I also love the idea, and I'm inserting this in my headcanon version of Power of the Doctor now, that Kate is standing outside those support groups, the sign-up sheet. Like,
exactly.
Unit internships.
Yeah, she's got like a armful of pamphlets or something. Yeah, here you go.
Yeah.
It's a really nice thing to do. It's again, this is the kind of thing that I think they might have dismissed as a fan fiction device back in the day, but now, with fan fiction and companion fiction, it's all kind of weaving together. Like, it makes total sense that all of this stuff would sort of come into the show, and it's a very good kind of world building thing. So, very happy to get that gift.
As in terms of gifts where you open them and you go, oh, thanks. There's the next gift, By Generation. By Generation was RTD's gift to fandom, something that we could all argue about endlessly at Christmas.
Exactly. So this is kind of why you might consider it a good gift, in that it's a lot to chew on. It's a big deal. Really, it's a big change. He knew it would be this way. We're still talking about it.
Gotta say, does look visually stunning. Like, I think about that a lot. That the scene of the camera rotating around 14 and 15 as they emerge from each other, it really does. To the point of the first gift, the Disney money. Like, they really give you an all-angle look at this By Generation, at this new thing. It's not as if they're just like, oh, this is a normal thing. Like, the show pulls out all the stops to draw attention to it. Look at it from all angles. This is real. I did like. I've got to say, I'm kind of on the fence about it. I think that a lot of our followers are too, because we did a poll on Twitter. I'm always going to call it Twitter. That's my gift to you.
Do
about about By Generation. I did this one as kind of a.
How did they like it? What were the options? It was like, are you into it? Are you not? Or were there more options than that? I should know this since I work at this podcast.
You just work it. No, I said By Generation, more like, and the winning option. Well, okay, I'll go in reverse.
What were the options?
By Generation, more like Psy Generation, or Y Generation, or Superfly Generation, or RTD's High Generation. and what would you choose out of those, Pete?
Well, let me tell you. Let's talk about what the fans chose. I don't want to. We've already sort of talked about it, so I don't want to retread what we said. But anyway, go on.
Equal last place at Psy Generation and Superfly Generation. So people didn't hate it, but they didn't love it.
Superfly is pretty good.
Superfly Generation.
Isn't that the good one? Isn't that like the Viscount banger of those?
No. Then the next most popular is Y Generation, but the winner with 46.2% of the vote is RTD's High Generation.
Right. Yeah. Sounds about right. Look, it's a thing for us to argue about. We're gonna keep arguing about it. If that feedback is going to get back to him, and he'll figure out what to sort of do with it. But ultimately, I feel like this is the gift you re-gift. Let's just give that to the Mandalorian or something.
Let's pass it on.
You guys have this concept, and we'll go back to normal status quo.
I was just thinking, the Star Wars universe definitely needs an injection of newness into it. Let's here, By Generation. A Skywalker can split off from a Skywalker. Oh God, no!
Why not?
Fewer Skywalkers. Whatever you do with By Generation Star Wars. No, I actually like it. So this gift is sitting well with me. I don't think I'm going to re-gift it. Like, the longer that I think about it, and I understand RTD's reasoning, and I understand it especially because of the next and final gift on our list that the specials gave us,
Hmm.
which is more a gift for the Doctor itself. Because what Bi-Generation allowed was the Doctor looking himself in the eye with his new eyes and his old eyes, and looking at old eyes and saying, "Hey, buddy, you need a rest. You've been traveling through time and space all this time. You've had hella trauma. We're going to talk about some of that trauma. We're even going to talk about Legopolis, apparently. Not sure why you picked that one in particular. But
and
like,
Adric.
and Adric. Sarah Jane's dead. Can you believe it? It's not like it's a timey-wimey show where we could, in theory, go back and visit Sarah Jane. Sarah Jane.
But yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. Like,
it allows the Doctor to do something he's never done before. Just give himself permission to stop and rest and settle down. And explicitly, if he's telling himself to do it, then that's, you can't. He's like,
ultimate permission.
I'm the wisest guy I know, and so I obviously need
so to speak.
Well, and Dylan does such a good job of playing a tired Doctor that you sort of feel like there's a payoff for that.
Yeah, you almost want him to have a little more of that 5 o'clock shadow or something when in those scenes, even though he definitely looks haggard. But you've never seen before, really, the Doctor giving himself a hug.
Yes.
That's incredible. It was just such a great scene. You're totally right. Like the Bi-Generation, make of it what you will. We'll figure out what that means in the long run. But the fact that it allowed the Doctor to give that gift to himself, I think it was one of the best things about the special. So I'm grateful for that one.
I think the randomizer is again guiding us, and this is another reason I don't think we mentioned last week when we were talking about A Christmas Carol, because that too revolves around a moment where Kazran, the Scrooge of the story, gets to hug his younger self.
Yeah, that's right.
We talked about that notion of like, how powerful that is, and how scary it is. Like how does your older self look to your younger self? But there's the other side of that is like, reconciling your life by having your older and your younger self give yourself a hug, which is exactly what happened in the Giggle. So, yeah, I think the randomizer is approving of Bi-Generation in its silent way.
At least the ends of the Bi-Generation perhaps justify the means here. So we'll hook on that. It's a very very appropriate for the season for sure.
Yeah. So the gift that the Doctor gave himself, the gift that 15 gave 14, was permission to just settle down and hang out and have a family and all these things that he hasn't done since he somehow acquired a granddaughter on Gallifrey. That's a good segue into our next segment on what has the Doctor received as gifts over the years. Now, we do know, thanks to Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, somewhere we went earlier this year, that the Doctor has a Christmas list.
That's right.
This is confirmed. It's it's great for the line of dialogue where it's Rory's dad saying to Rory that he needs a trowel. Put it on your Christmas list, and the Doctor screams from far away. Rory's like, I don't have a Christmas list. I'm 31. Doctor's like, I've got a Christmas list. Like we don't know whether the trowel went on it, but yeah, the Doctor would like gifts and hasn't received a lot in the show.
Well, and I also love that that's such a great Matt Smith line and a great doctory line where, it really was reminiscent to me of the Tom Baker line, which is often quoted, that there's no point in being grown up if you can't be childish once in a while. And that's kind of like a perfect Doctor line. And like that capturing that youthful spirit. Like, of course he has a Christmas list. He's a kid at heart. He wants things. He likes things, and he doesn't really want to have the things. He wants to want them. Like I think that's kind of the spirit of it. So it's really, really cool. But he also occasionally does get actual gifts, whether they're on his list or not. So from a few other episodes, well, let's if we fast forward from there, from Dinosaurs on a Spaceship to the Whittaker era.
Yes.
Apparently, something on her Kerblam wish list was a fez.
Yeah,
which makes total sense.
I think this is the classic moment. I don't know if you've ever had this, Pete, if you've ever been on in the Amazon wish list side of things, but
oh yes,
the real world Kerblam, where you're like, you get a gift for Christmas, and you're like, oh, and you suddenly realize that this was something that you put on your gift list years ago. That is not necessarily good for modern day you, but you're like, oh yeah, you sort of have to. Oh yeah, I should have pruned that list a bit. But the Doctor receives it, and I like to think that this was. Here's my headcanon on this. After Dinosaurs in the Spaceship, the Doctor goes to update his Christmas list with the trowel. That Rory's dad is talking about. Right, by the way, Rory does say that he does have a trowel once he and Amy settle down. He mentions it in a later episode. But so the Doctor wants to put it on his wish list, goes to Kerblam, goes to add it, gets distracted by a "you may also like" with it's just a picture of a fez. Orders a fez, and that's when the Kerblam delivery person receives it. Now, you wouldn't. I feel like some incarnations of the Doctor would have a problem with getting a gift meant for previous incarnations. For example, I don't think 3 would look kindly on getting a recorder.
Right. Yeah. Although he knows where to get thousands of them.
He said.
But
yeah.
Well, the Fez getting to her, like, not to dissect the plot of that episode too much, but I think it was just something on the Doctor's wish list that the Kerblam system then just grabbed because it needed her to come then and sort of solve the problem, right?
You're right. I mean, the point I was going to make there is that the Doctor is clearly the easiest person to buy gifts for, even though what do you buy for the Time Lord who has everything and all of time and space and a machine to go there? You think that'd be hard to buy for, but the way that she's so excited by this fez and immediately puts it on, like she's not faking that. She's into that fez.
Yeah, it's kind of like, if you're into like a particular cartoon or something as a kid and someone gets you the DVD box set of it and you haven't watched it in 20 years, they'd be like, oh yeah, and then kind of get into it. You kind of remember who you were.
Yeah.
And you kind of take on that persona for a little bit and then you're back. Right.
I love it. Yeah, but other than that, I don't know. I mean, and listeners, please feel free to comment on YouTube or wherever, even just leave us a review and comment on this. But I don't know that the Doctor's received any other gifts. Now, there are metaphorical gifts. So in Twice Upon a Time, the what's the name of the organization that's preserving memories in that? Again, speaking of Demons of the Punjab, it's kind of the same plot as Twice Upon a Time.
Testimony.
There you go. They say they're offering the Doctor the gift of seeing Bill again.
Right.
And that is, so I've been through, all the transcripts of every Doctor Who story are online. So on chakotea.net, a great resource for Doctor Who fans. And what you could do a very quick Google search for words like gift and present, which is what I've done. Now, I've seen a lot of presents that the Doctor gives, which is like, the companions definitely get the better end of the deal in terms of presents. Under the tree.
I can definitely think of 2 actual gifts he's gotten.
Yes.
So just off the top of my head. So one is Black Orchid. So at the end of that 2-parter, the Cranleys give the Doctor the book, the Black Orchid. Mm-hmm. So he does get that, and it's actually referred to in Earthshock, and so it's still probably in the TARDIS somewhere. So there's that one, and the other was one of our
room just full of regifts things. To regift. Yeah.
One of our very first podcasts was the show, the story of the Invisible Enemy.
Yes, and
that was perhaps the greatest gift he's ever gotten, other than the hug and everything that he just got from 15 is K9.
Yeah. The best physical gift he ever got.
Yeah, exactly.
A dog that is not just for Christmas.
And it just kept giving. They kept giving himself canines. And we've spoken about what that means and whether that is kind of
the
robbing canine of its meaning, but it is a little bit or personality. But it's we love seeing canine.
There's a Mark II, which comes in Invasion of Time. There's a Mark III that he gives to Sarah Jane.
That's right. Yep.
And
shows up in Canine and Company first.
And then there's a Mark IV.
Then there's a Mark IV the canine at the end of School Reunion, the rebuilt or regifted canine at the end of School Reunion declares itself to be Canine Mark IV.
Okay, so the Doctor, this is one of those Christmas gifts where someone gets it for you and you're like, this is so amazing. And then it breaks and then you're like, you had to buy it 3 more times, but you don't care. Because it's so good. So that basically is what the Doctor's done, and the whatever the Doctor and the Invisible Enemy, the guy who constructs K9, he's probably got a pretty good sideline in a company just making them, and because the Doctor keeps coming back to the 50th century to buy another one. It's their best.
It's so interesting they've never done visiting that era again, and you see sort of K9 and maybe bad K9, kind of like how they do with the droids in Star Wars. You sort of have bad 3POs here and there.
God.
That would be interesting.
An episode set in a K9 factory. RTD, call us. You want to see that.
That would be amazing.
And they're all turned into evil K9s at some point.
That would be a gift. Holy cow. Gift us that, please. That would be incredible.
But yeah, so the Doctor is actually a better gift giver.
Yeah, for sure.
Than a gift receiver. We've seen many throughout the show. In Husbands of River Song,
right.
When they go to Beryllium, I believe, is when he gives her the Sonic in a box.
Yeah. The Sonic we see in Silence of the Library.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is perfect.
Awesome.
I mean, the Doctor never has to wonder about what gifts he should give a companion. He could just give them all a Sonic.
Well, he could also pop forward and see what they wanted. Yeah. What he gave them. So...
Oh my God, we've just headcanoned another Christmas special. I feel like this is a webisode one. This is a 5-minute one. The Doctor is, and maybe use 14 for this. Like they're around at the nobles for Christmas, and the Doctor's like giving these gifts, and he's rubbish at it.
So speaking of gifts, he gave the nobles
and gets them better one.
But
that writes itself. RTD, call us.
But yeah, speaking of gifts, he gave the nobles like the winning the lottery. That was huge.
Yes. Oh
Which of course we've learned later she gave away all the money because she's just so good, or had that sort of latent desire to be charitable because of her experience with the Doctor, and then got mad at him for doing that later when she got her memories back.
At the companion support group, do they discuss this? Like the Doctor could have given everyone lottery tickets.
True.
Lottery tickets.
And what does Donna get? Lottery tickets. Well, maybe that should be just like your thing for getting, spending the season with the Doctor.
Exactly. And like multiples, like Jamie should get, instead of like the gift of having his memory erased, he should have gotten the biggest lottery ticket of all. Or maybe the gift of going to an English-free Scotland.
Ooh.
In some alternate universe.
Interesting.
that could have been a good one for Rory. But what else? Yeah, he gives the Metabelus crystal to Jo.
That's right.
In the Green Death, even though he's bummed that she's leaving.
Although she gives it back later because they remembered they needed it for the plot of Planet of Spiders. So they had to get it back.
Talk about a regifting.
Yeah.
We did mention, we forgot to mention one gift that the Doctor looked at and said, "Oh, thanks," which is the Cyber Army that Missy gets him in Death in Heaven.
Yes, that's right. Didn't really have a place for that.
Which it's a good thing. Well, I hope she kept the receipt for that, because the Doctor, he's not into it. He wants to return that Christmas sweater. Yeah.
And the doctor certainly gave a pretty big gift in The Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe
Oh my goodness.
to the family there.
Yep.
And that obviously kicks off the whole thing.
Yeah, never open a giant present from the Doctor. Like, what were you even thinking? A portal to another planet? That's not a good idea. As we found out. Yeah, be very careful. I mean, and also the Doctor spent all this time doing up the kids' room in the Doctor and the Widow and Wardrobe. He was really going overboard that Christmas. I feel like his 11th incarnation was way more into the Christmas list thing than any of the others.
Yeah.
Really kind of didn't know when to stop.
Definitely didn't know when to stop. Lived for like 200 years not knowing when to stop. Anyway.
I do hope that I can find on eBay somewhere the machine that goes ding and downloads comics from the future. Because I definitely want that. That is going on my wish list. Just in case I need to spot any Zygons, but also the comics from the future. I'm really into it for that.
Nice. Yes. So how they get displayed? Well, now we know with the new Sonic, of course. It just creates little windows in the air. That's fun times.
That. Love that.
So this isn't the Doctor getting or giving a gift, although it's arguably gifting himself to someone. But it is in the Big Bang, where River's gift to Amy is that TARDIS themed book, the diary.
Yes.
And the gift ends up being Amy remembering the Doctor, which of course is how he comes back to the universe after needing to seal himself on sort of the other side of reality, the other side of the Big Bang.
The book is what triggers it, and that's a present from River. So it's a present from her daughter that she doesn't know is a daughter yet, and it does it triggers her looking at the guy with the bow tie, at the wedding, and and then something else triggers her memories of the Raggedy Doctor, and that's how he comes back. So yeah, really, River is responsible for the ultimate gift to the Doctor, his existence.
Right. Absolutely. And it's really a gift bestowed by Stephen Moffat because he really wanted to turn the old wedding gift saying something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue, and make that sort of the centerpiece of that scene, which is almost like a writer challenging himself to do something. But it is, I do like that it's very apt because it's like, it does end with something blue. And you're like, okay, sure. It's kind of, you're teeing it up for him. Go for it.
Teeing it up for the TARDIS noise. Yeah, that is a beautiful moment. And I look forward to when we get there. Speaking of stories that we have been to, though, one entry for a present in the Doctor Who transcript is Robot of Sherwood, where the Doctor says that's what he's leaving for Robin, who he's been at loggerheads with throughout the story. He leaves her Maid Marian as a gift.
Oh, yeah.
The TARDIS
hiding in the TARDIS, behind the TARDIS. We never got a good answer on that. Either way, it's kind of weird and creepy, but good stuff. Nice happy ending.
Indeed.
Oh, you know what, Chris? All this gift giving, it makes me want to sort of tidy up things and sweep up some wrapping paper. And
it's got to be some housekeeping at Christmas.
Yeah, you got to. So, folks, if you would like to get some full notes on our episodes and help support the podcast, why don't you go ahead to go over to our base on the World Wide Web. We are at pulltoopen.net, and you can subscribe to our newsletter. And you can also become a patron of the show. Feel free to do that at patreon.com/pulltoopen. And give us some support. It is the season, after all.
Tis the season, and you know what? We don't want anything. It's okay. I know you're suddenly shrinking in horror from the fear of have I forgotten to give Pull to Open something. It's all good. You know, your continued presence as listeners is great. However, if you do feel generous, if you are feeling Christmas spirit, please. Open the app that you're listening to your podcast in, see if you can review it, especially if you're holding a brand new iPhone after Christmas or even before Christmas. Go to the Apple Podcast app, review us in there. That especially gives us some juice. It helps us get to more into more ears, bringing the gift of our random journey to more listeners, especially if it's a 5-star review. But you know, whatever you want, whatever you're feeling Christmassy enough to give. and then share it with a friend. Share it with the friend that you've forgotten to get a gift for, and you're like, it's Christmas Eve, and you're like, oh crap, I forgot. But also, my friend either loves Doctor Who or will do in the future. Therefore, I'm going to send them a text with this show, this exact show, and then they will listen to this, they'll get to this point, and they will understand why you sent them this text. And hopefully, if they have gotten to this point, they enjoy it enough that they're also going to start listening to it. So, what could be more Christmassy than that? It's a little Christmas miracle.
Well, I'll tell you what could be more Christmassy than that. Go ahead. It's Simple Stocking Stuffers, which, of course, is a like and subscribe on YouTube, where we're at. YouTube.com/pull-to-open, where you not only get to listen to the show, you can see us, and you can see our Easter eggs. You can see I've got my Matt Smith poster here behind me because I forgot to put it up last week when we did A Christmas Carol. And, there's lots of things that you can find on our channel, including all of our short videos. You'll see those. Our hot takes from the latest Christmas specials are all there. So go ahead and give it a look.
Indeed. And we are all over the place. If you're trying to avoid your family at Christmas, check us out on TikTok. Go watch all of our short videos there. It's a great way to distract yourself. We're at Pull to Open there. On Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, we're at Pull to Open 63, Blue Sky, Pull to Open. And yes, everywhere. We'll probably be on one more platform by the time you're listening to us, in which case, just Google it.
So, cutting to our sort of final segment on gifts, and it's kind of what we want to talk about now is sort of something a little more personal and sort of the gift of Doctor Who and what it's kind of meant in our lives, particularly at Christmas time. And I've been a fan since the early 80s. And once I became a fan, you kind of want stuff, right? You're like, okay, what is there? And, I was probably 10 years old at the time. And, there wasn't, and I was in Canada, Western Canada. There wasn't like a ton of stuff, but you could go to sort of specialty comic stores and there was a little bit of stuff. There might've been like a Doctor Who magazine, occasional t-shirt. And you could sort of hunt far and wide and eventually sort of find things. And so, luckily, my family was very patient and would go out of their way to sort of find things that were Doctor Who themed. I kind of helped them out a little bit and would sort of say, like, you can get this here or there or whatever. I don't have that many gifts from back then still, although I most of the books that I got back then, I definitely still have, and they're sort of on the shelf back here. But one of the gifts that I got at some point, I think this came out in the early 90s, I still have, is this. This is Shada. So
wow. Shada
this is
on VHS is what
on VHS. Yeah. And it's narrated by Tom Baker. And so this is one of like 17 versions of Shada there are now. But I was just so thrilled to get this because one of the best gifts you can get as a fan is Doctor Who you haven't seen before.
Yes.
And I got to say, that's one of the gifts this podcast has given me in doing it, because I have obviously never seen the missing episodes we're doing. And because the internet and Doctor Who fandom have mixed to produce so much stuff, including sort of telesnap versions of those episodes beyond just the audio, one of the best gifts that the podcast has given me is the rendering of Marco Polo, which really, even though there's been a few more we've done, that one in particular was so well done and was just such a great story that it really felt like I was seeing that TARDIS team again, and in a story I'd never seen before. So even though a lot of those episodes probably are gone forever, the magic of the internet and the magic of Doctor Who fandom, I mean, it just keeps giving you stuff. So it's great.
Yeah. And when you're a Doctor Who fan, like that, it gives your family a gift as well, which is like, oh, thank goodness, now I know what to get him for Christmas. Now, for me,
now they can actually do it just on Amazon, right? They used to have to hunt to comic stores or wherever else, but now it's just it's a click it, pick it, and Doctor Who it all my way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I my thing has been TARDISes. I have. Just looking around me right now, a TARDIS USB hub. I got TARDIS bookends right above me. I got a tiny TARDIS here. I got a TARDIS toothpaste dispenser. Maybe in a future year, pull to open, if we do this at Christmas, and if I have a few drinks, I might actually wear the TARDIS onesie.
Oh my!
That I have in this closet over here. The world may not be ready for the TARDIS onesie, but TARDIS was actually one of the first gifts I received as well in the 1970s. Now this has been featured in Doctor Who magazine. There was a Ken doll sized Doctor.
Oh yeah,
Fourth Doctor, and there was a TARDIS that went with it, and you could put the Fourth Doctor in the TARDIS, and you could spin the top, and he would disappear.
Oh, wild!
Wasn't
fun.
Quite that it was bigger on the inside, but the Doctor did vanish, which was kind of fun. He did vanish into it, and I remember that sort of priming me for Logopolis. Must have gotten it pretty late into the 70s or early into the 80s in that case, because I do remember kind of thinking about that in connection with the Logopolis and the TARDIS within the TARDIS, and going
you don't still have it, do you?
It is somewhere in the attic at home. I got to dig it out next time.
Oh yeah, you definitely got to dig it out. I really want to see this now.
Yeah,
the disappearing Baker TARDIS.
It was fantastic. Now it did mean that I could not do my desired crossovers between my Star Wars figures and my one and only Doctor Who figure. This thing was. I don't know if they even made any others at that time, unless like the Doctor is like 50 foot tall. You know what I really needed was the gift of Trenzalore and the giant TARDIS. From that, I could have possibly incorporated it into my Star Wars action figure stories in that case. But yeah, never the twain could meet. But it did give me the gift that I could play with my sister who had Barbies and Cindy's. Cindy was a British Barbie. Yeah.
Wow. So the Doctor could visit the dream house.
Exactly.
Hang out.
The Doctor may have been the original inhabitant of the, what is it in the Barbie movie? Ken's Mojo Dojo Dream House.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, we had that. We were ahead of the game. It was the TARDIS. It was amazing. I'm pretty sure Barbie went into the TARDIS many times. Unofficial companion, but Big Finish, maybe you can figure something out there. Yeah, so nice. I feel like that's some good family quality time, some good sibling quality time.
Well, yeah.
Very little else to bond over.
Well, now the great thing is every Christmas there's a good sort of Doctor Who bonding moment, and that I've definitely enjoyed since I've had a family, started my own family, which during the new series, right? So when the new series came back and we had the Christmas specials, I would kind of watch them more or less on my own, although I would usually go back and see my folks and my brother and sister in Edmonton, and maybe I think once or twice we might have watched Doctor Who while we were there. But certainly since I've had kids, it's been such a great thing to look forward to every Christmas that we're all going to just not only have a great Christmas together, but we're also going to have brand new Doctor Who that we're going to watch in the evening and just have a great sort of time with it. And again, this is not unusual. I mean, this is like every Doctor Who fan has this, but it's one of these cool, bold things the show did. Like, let's have a Christmas special and do it. And they just started doing it every year. And it's surprising that it's I think, are there any other shows that do it? I have no idea, to be honest with you. Like it's such a smart idea. Like, I'm surprised it hasn't really caught on as a thing other franchises would do.
It's definitely a sign of the flexibility of the Who franchise, is that you can do that. And I think we were shown that with Feast of Stephen. Like, we knew that as early as the first Doctor, even though that was sort of famed and decried as this madcap episode. Like, it was an early example of how Doctor Who can just do something that's just, pardon my language, completely batshit. It just, I mean, it just, especially at Christmas, and somehow that goes well with Christmas. It's amazing that they took as long as they did to remember that, really. Maybe, William Hartnell doomed it by turning to camera at the end of Feast of Stephen. And so, that's what kind of doomed that episode in the eyes of many, the breaking of the fourth wall. But Doctor Who and Christmas go together. Everyone knows this now. They go together so well. I think in part because it explains Christmas better than any other show. We have had better explanations of Christmas in Doctor Who stories than we've had in anything outside, I think, things like The Grinch, anything that's more specifically aimed at telling a Christmas story. And I'm thinking specifically of Last Christmas,
Right.
which contains, for me, the best description of why we do Christmas. Christmas Carol was pretty good. We looked at that last week. The halfway out of the dark thing is a wonderful line that anyone can get behind. If you're not religious, you don't identify with the actual festival called Christmas, you call it whatever you want. It's halfway out of the dark. I love that.
Yeah.
And then Last Christmas, the notion that it could be our last Christmas together. Like that really, really, something clicked for me in my mind when I saw that, and it's never unclicked about Christmas itself.
Yeah, Doctor Who really gets Christmas, and it's kind of too bad, honestly, now that I think about it, that Jodie Whittaker was not. I know that you can't do Christmas forever. Maybe they got a little tiresome in terms of like milking every possible Christmas story and turning it into a Doctor Who adventure. But New Year's just isn't the same. It just isn't. You don't really have that same sense of family. That sort of the spirit is different, right? You're on New Year's. You've just kind of like rebooting things, watching the clocks change, and you're just hung over the next day, and you don't really like that sense of occasion is a different thing that I don't think it translates in the same way. And it's really too bad that Her Doctor didn't get a Christmas special. Even though you could argue Power of the Doctor maybe sort of almost wanders into it because it was sort of October-ish. But it's too bad. But I'm glad they brought them back. And
they did kind of run out of ideas around Christmas. I mean, I was just, as you were saying that, I was thinking, well, what other Christmas story could they do? And I was thinking, well, like, maybe they could do a version of It's a Wonderful Life, but like the Doctor gets to see what's her life. Like, let's give this to Jodie.
Well, I mean, the thing is...
without her life in the world. But then I was like, oh no, that's kind of turned left.
Yeah. Well, you could do the literal Christmas story and have him go to Bethlehem in the year 0 or something, but maybe not. In fact, don't do that. RTD, do not call us on that one. But you don't necessarily have to like this. That was really more of a Moffat invention. Let's reinvent Christmas stories and do them as Doctor Who adventures. Whereas if you look at RTD's first era, the Christmas Invasion and the Runaway Bride, and most of them really are really Doctor Who adventures with Christmas overtones. They're not necessarily sort of a whole reimagining of Christmas. So I think you can keep them going. I just and get more into that sort of spirit of things. I do think though, like just the family coming together to do a thing on Christmas Day just makes way more sense. And, they really have figured out the formula of this in terms of, Moffat would say it a lot about how you're kind of competing with Christmas in a sense. So you've got to be even louder and crazier. And looking forward to some loudness and craziness in a week or so. Yeah, you definitely don't get that on a Shada VHS. But yeah, speaking about more intangible gifts that just Doctor Who fandom has given us that we can spend some time feeling grateful for, especially as I feel a little bad about the bar humbug corner last week. I got a little too humbuggy, so really okay. That's why the pull to open sign smashed during it. I was sure that was the ghost of Christmas Future sending me a message there. But no, I have Doctor Who to thank for one of the first stories I ever wrote was about the Doctor. The very first story was about a character called the Giant of Wembley. But the second short story I ever wrote as a kid, as a very young kid, involved the Fourth Doctor. I think I talked about this when we went to Destiny of the Daleks, because it was, I believe, after watching episode 1 of Destiny of the Daleks, it had that setting to it, where the Doctor was literally inviting me, like a hand comes out of the television, the Doctor literally pulls me into the story. Probably a device been used many times, but whatever. I was like 5 years old.
And
usually a device that's very, very creepy when you're like being invited into the TV show.
But not in this one. This was no WandaVision here. This was, it was actually a positive story. But so, the Doctor was like one of the first subjects I wanted to write about. One of the first things I was ever obsessed with drawing as a kid was the scarf, was the Fourth Doctor's scarf.
Nice.
Which I just drew endless spirals. And I remember one day discovering my mother crying about something. And she had one of my, like, she can't even remember this story at all, but she had one of my spiral drawings like out in front of her. So I misunderstood. I believed that she didn't want me to draw any more spirals that could be either snakes or Doctor Who scarves. And
I was just like, what is so tragic about that? I kind of feel like she thought you were messed up because you were just drawing weird stuff.
Clearly it wasn't about me, but I took from that my Doctor Who scarf drawing phase must end, and I started doing portraits.
Well, maybe she was proud. I mean, maybe tears of joy.
Tears of joy about being handed yet another scarf picture. So yeah, but also, I mean, I've mentioned on the show before, it was a thing that I could bond with my dad over. One memory that may or may not have mentioned was like trying to, when we were walking along Hadrian's Wall one day, because we live quite close to Hadrian's Wall. This beautiful, beautiful setting. So many movies have been filmed in, and I spent that entire walk. Not in stony silence as we might do normally, but trying to persuade him that he needed to catch up with Trial of a Time Lord.
Wow!
So this story takes place in 1986. Yeah,
roughly. And were you successful?
I was not. I think I realized in trying to summarize Trial of a Time Lord that it really wasn't going to interest him.
Was he just like, Chris, I'm more of a Davison guy.
He's like, sorry, since Tegan left, I'm not into it anymore.
Oh, understandable.
Yeah, sorry, don't do American accented companions. So no Perry for me.
Well, it's funny that you had some story. You wrote a story sort of around Doctor Who when you were first into it. I did as well. Funnily enough, in ninth grade, I wrote something over the Christmas season because it was like an assignment for our language arts class to write a short story, and I wrote what was essentially a sequel to the Caves of Androzani.
Whoa! With
what I imagined would be the Seventh Doctor, and because at that point they hadn't. I don't think they'd announced. No, sorry, the Eighth Doctor, because the Seventh Doctor was already around, but there was no Eighth Doctor, obviously, and there hadn't been.
Oh, I see. You're writing this many years later.
Yeah, I would. Yeah. No, I basically was imagining an Eighth Doctor, like my own Eighth Doctor. Ooh. And I had a very similar dress sense, shall we say. But honestly, when I wrote it,
can't go wrong.
I haven't looked at it in forever. I don't even know if I still have it, but I remember thinking, I sort of instinctively wrote it for the Sixth Doctor, which had been the Doctor I had sort of most like. I hadn't really seen much of Sylvester McCoy yet at that point because he was brand new. It was like 87 or 88, and I was sort of still calibrated to the previous Doctor, which was kind of funny because he's very short with his companion. I actually put Melanie in there because she was again sort of the one I was sort of associated with as the Doctor, and so
back to Androzani.
Yes, but there's a lot of androids. There's a lot of stuff getting blown up and using. There's a bomb. And
there's no Spectrox radiation there.
There is Spectrox, but no one dies of it in the episode. So there was. It was a short kind of. I don't know. It was. I don't know if I successfully got the short story structure because I just wanted to write a Doctor Who episode.
Well, sir, if you were thinking what you could get me for Christmas, please locate that story, and we just hold it for whenever the randomizer is kind enough to send us to Caves of Androzani.
Well, I remember doing one of those super amateur moves in it, though. I'd have to revise it because I did this thing where I took some names from the show, knowing my language arts teacher wouldn't know the show.
Yeah.
So I think I even put like someone's name was Mr. Fibuli just because I liked that name. it was just, I think the story was okay. It's just that I'd have to change the names to something that wasn't just a complete ripoff.
Yes, change the names to protect the innocent. Yeah, you didn't know that many years hence the story would be performed live on a podcast.
No. Maybe
Well,
that'll be I'll have my Dickens moment next Christmas, and I'll read the story. There you go.
Oh my goodness. You do that, I'll totally wear the TARDIS onesie.
Deal. All right.
All right.
Christmas 2024, folks. Set it here to Pull to Open.
That's right. Doctor Who gives you Last Christmas and the Next Doctor, but only Pull to Open gives you the Next Christmas.
There it is. All right, folks. Thanks for joining us down this Christmassy version of Pull to Open, where we talked about gifts, stories. We hope you enjoyed our gift to you. We will see you next week for Demons of the Punjab.
Yes,
please like, subscribe, and all the other things that we said earlier.
There will be more gifts. There are gifts in Demons of the Punjab, if you don't remember that. There are several gifts, and so it is an appropriate place to go next. And we will be giving you the gift of a giant history corner from that story. So there's a lot to talk about, and I can't wait to get into it all.
And we wish everyone out there at home a Merry Christmas to you as well.
Yes, Dr. Bless.
Not sure if that was Hartnell's line, but did my best.
Yeah, let's turn to camera and be like, yes. Dr. Bless us, everyone. Bye, folks.